Welcome back to Data Center News Asia and a 𝐭𝐤𝐤𝐬 for all those who celebrate. You can see my little some Chinese flowers here for prosperity this year.
Yeah, 𝐤𝐸 everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, shall we?
Yeah, let's go on with some human-created news. I was trying to watch some content about the different Anthropic developments earlier, and I realized that it was on in the background, and the guy was reading a script that was written by ChatGPT. I could tell when he said, "Here's the part that people aren't talking about." So nothing but human-created fumblings from Data Center News Asia. We will not be going down the AI scripted route anytime soon. Let's do the investment stories first. Let's get with the glamour, shall we? So, I² Capital, according to Bloomberg, we should preface this. According to Bloomberg, although there are rumors in the market, I² Capital are looking for a $2 billion valuation for BDX data centers. BDX is they've been under I² for about 7 years now, so it makes sense that they'd be looking for a change. This was carved off from HGX in Hong Kong back in 2019, and they've been through a few different changes. They've done a couple of acquisitions. What do you think of this one, James?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like BDX, they've managed to establish a pretty interesting footprint. So they obviously have the Singapore asset acquired, I don't know, 5-ish years ago, but they've also managed to extend, I guess, and hold a footprint in Indonesia, Hong Kong, China, and Taiwan. So it's an interesting portfolio and some pretty exciting markets actually.
Yeah, diverse across Asia. I mean, this is we're always trying to do a bit of a. If they weren't all our customers and bound by various different agreements, we need to do one of those tier listing videos where we rank all the operators in the region. But we do have those sort of discussions offline, and it's interesting to see where some of these evaluations stack up now that you've got, obviously recent STT news, day one in the market, conversations around platforms like Digital Edge and PDG as they're raising large amounts of money. BDX. I guess smaller assets and perhaps a less developed pipeline than some of those players.
Well, you may say that, but it's still a $2 billion valuation, and they still do have hyperscale customers in some of those assets. They also have a significant pipeline behind them as well, which is maybe slightly different to some of the others. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely an interesting opportunity.
Could be a good buy for someone. Other financing story this week. So Firmus, now these numbers obviously get crazy big for very young companies because of as we talked about with Jonathan on the long form show, because of the enormous cost of the GPUs. So Firmus, which is an Australian neocloud, so these are the guys who buy the actual GPUs and then rent those either per token or per minute or whatever their model is. They've secured $10 billion in a debt facility from Blackstone and Coatue. Blackstone, of course, different part of Blackstone, but in our industry, they're the backer for AirTrunk now, and Coatue is one of the consortium backing day one. But this is for their Project Southgate AI factory, which is the CDC and NVIDIA project.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Obviously, the numbers around Firmus have kind of jumped and continue to jump. So, 10 billion debt financing is pretty significant for a firm that doesn't, not a traditional operator, of course, but doesn't have a huge amount of track record in the same way that an AirTrunk or someone with a similar-ish valuation would. So, yeah, interesting to see how this develops.
Yeah. So, I mean, the data center, by the way, that's involved in this. So Project Southgate, as they call it, not related to Gareth Southgate, of course. I should point that out for anyone. This is a 90 megawatt initially, but potentially expanding to over a gigawatt. But this is up in Tasmania. So this is the north.
Yeah, that's the first phase. That's I think you mentioned 90-ish megawatts. And then they do also have the, I guess you'd call it, partnership with CDC, which we reported on a couple of times kind of towards the tail end of last year, where it looks like they'll likely be taking capacity within CDC facilities across a number of different cities. Actually, I think kind of all the major Australian cities were nearly mentioned. So I think that's the Southgate part of the project. I think that's where that comes in. I think it's specifically tied to the CDC stuff.
Yeah, so I think like what the takeaways for this for people will be, Blackstone, Coatue, other big investors are looking at various different ways that they can have exposure to the sector. They obviously do back their own operators, but then this is a big debt facility into neoclouds. Whether they're going to be looking at other sort of peaks and shovels type companies, but they're clearly trying to have as much different types of exposure as they can to the AI infrastructure boom. Australia continues to be a very exciting market, and one that provides both the opportunity to scale and security to commit this kind of capital. And yeah, Firmus and companies like Firmus, Nxera, etc. I think there's a market here for Australia to have potentially in future alternative players to the American hyperscalers, but also in the meantime to partner with them and other hyperscalers to grow this business.
Yep.
Okay, data center updates. Let's do these. So Singtel have opened. This is the somewhat controversial if you were bidding in the first CFA. This is the Tuas facility. This is the 58 megawatt DC Tuas, which is Singapore's highest capacity data center. Makes me wonder whatever happened to that Facebook one. So this one's complete.
No, I would say complete, but it is open. So DC Tuas, 58 megawatts. So the newest in the Singtel / Nxera portfolio, and obviously a pretty significant one there, and that brings their once this is fully complete, will bring their capacity up to around 120 megawatts in Singapore alone. So interesting, good that it's finally up. And I believe one of the interesting things was 90% pre-leased as well. So I expect that to be kind of hitting 100% in line with the rest of Singapore pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, 90% pre-lease sounds pretty, but then it is Singapore, of course. So, notoriously, any capacity that is available in Singapore will go somewhere, probably for a pretty good price. And I suppose those who do like to speculate, of course, we'll be wondering whether this facility will become a jewel in the crown of the future Singtel, STT, KKR sandwich business, or how they will continue to keep these things separate. But at the moment, this is part of the Nxera brand, which is under Singtel's Digital InfraCo unit, which is the joint KKR Singtel owned platform right now across Asia.
Yes, correct.
Okay, Stack have broken ground on their second Tokyo data center. I am actually losing track of what Stack has in Japan. Their first one is the one with Oak Tree Capital, right? And then this is
the Inside parcel. So it's just divided into two 18 megawatt buildings. So this is just the second of those 18 megawatt buildings, which is what they've broken ground on.
Oak doke. And I can see the picture they've got here. So the first building is it open? It looks pretty picture. I remember actually we reported on the opening, and pretty told us we weren't actually complimentary enough about the facility, so we got scolded. But so it's next to the first one there on the picture there with their campus here in Tokyo. So good progress for them, and they do also have the facility in Osaka, which they are building with, or they will be operating as ESR building, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. And then Stack obviously have operational facilities in Australia and development in Seoul as well for their Asia portfolio, and of course Malaysia, which they missed off this DCD article.
I think the Seoul project is now passed over to a new operator.
Sorry, that's the artist formerly known as Stack on that one. So actually, maybe we need to write into DCD this one. So they've got Stack will be displeased. They've got the wrong countries. Old news. Digital Bridge, did segue onto Malaysia for a reason. Digital Bridge owned AIMS have bought 10 acres of land in Malaysia. So this AIMS, of course, was one of the part of Time.com formerly, and then it was acquired by Digital Bridge as a standalone data center business, which was then not rolled into Vantage. And this is, Vantage is obviously a hyperscale player hyperscale provider in Asia, and AIMS is more of a kind of downtown co-location. And this plot of land is
inside Bajaya.
Cybergyre. Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how's Cybergyre looking these days, Jay? I haven't been up there for a long time. It's pretty crowded.
Yeah, well, I remember 2-ish years ago, there was a lot of talk that there was going to be power issues there, but haven't really heard too much about that. So I don't know, maybe that was solved, or maybe it was never as big a deal as was being made out at the time. Yeah, but this is interesting because, to your point, AIMS, I think certainly initially the aim of AIMS was to be complementary to Vantage, more of a retail or a wholesale style play. I think what's going to muddy the water slightly is the fact that they do now actually have significant hyperscale presence in their existing Cybergyre facility, which, as per the article, says it's 50 megawatts. It's not that large, that facility, but it's not small either. I think it's about half that size. But anyway, yeah, this 200 megawatts announcement is obviously a deviation from that, and it looks like they will be targeting hyperscale or potentially AI workloads in this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Digital Bridge is another investor with their fingers in many pies and many many routes to expose to the sector in Asia as well. There was a PGIM announcement too. This was another land buy. This is in Melbourne, and I got a bit confused here because I only read this article this morning, and there's Aussie dollars, US dollars, price per hectare. How big is this site? Where is it?
Yeah. So the site is in Melbourne. I should know the exact area, but it has slipped my mind. Truganina. Yeah. So to your point, there's a couple of different denominations and currencies throughout the article. The parcel was bought for 165 million Aussie, apparently, which is just under 120 million USD. So it's pretty significant. I think, as per the article, it's over 20 hectares. And the plan is to develop, again, as per the article, 850 million US dollar facility. So I think we're looking at a site in the 70, 80 megawatt range, just given those back calculation sums there. So yeah, another significant development coming to Melbourne.
Yeah, no word here on the press release whether this will. This was on a report from the Australian Financial Review, and there's no word here as to whether this is going to be part of their or another joint venture with Xscale, because they do have that's PGIM's main exposure in Asia. I think is through, or in Australia certainly, is through that joint venture they have with. PGIM are effectively the real estate buyer, and their data center fund gets involved in that share of it, whilst Xscale, as Equinix hyperscale arm, does the operation and the building. But no word as to whether that's going to be how this one is structured, or whether they'll be working with a different partner.
No, not yet. Yeah, interesting to see. But congratulations to the PGIM team. They do have a pretty significant amount of capital to deploy as part of that aforementioned fund you discussed a few moments ago. So good luck. Good luck to everyone there. Gonna have to race through these last couple of stories.
Yeah, sorry. So NTT have bought some land in Thailand, Bangkok. This is in the east, is it? Or this is BK5, Chonburi. There we go. So I'm not sure how much NTT you've got in Thailand, to be honest. There's like quite a few days.
This will be their fourth facility, despite the BKK5 naming convention. There doesn't seem to be a BKK1. I have a vague recollection that it might have been a retired facility, but don't quote me on that. I can't actually remember what happened with that.
Either that, or there's a plot of land somewhere that didn't make it through the development phase and took the name of BKK1. But
Well, we've got 30 seconds. ByteDance looking to buy Samsung chips, potentially up to 350,000. Next month, they're sampling them. Asia Fast potentially developing with China Mobile in kind of Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore. Trump giving some chip exemptions for hyperscalers for Taiwanese chips. And then Super X AI potentially going to develop in Japan. That's all.
There we go. Happy Monday. Whoops.
Thanks, everyone.